Hello, YouTube. I'm Becky.
And this is Mickey.
And we went to see The Maze Runner about 2 weeks ago, and we wanted to talk about it.
Do a little critique review on the movie, which we thought was pretty good when we first saw it.
Yeah, I walked away, and sometimes you go into these sort of movies and you just think, oh, I wasted my money, I should wait for the red box. But I walked outside, I was pretty satisfied, and then I stopped for a second, and about 2 minutes after I walked out of the theater, I was like, wait a minute, this movie makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, we were just like, hey, that was a great ending, worked out nicely, it was interesting, but then, as she said, it's like,
when you actually
think about
the plot.
Think about the whole plot and the whole circumstances which were involved in making that whole... just the whole scene, really.
Oh, and spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the ending of the movie, and the two of us, we went online afterwards, and we found all the summaries of all the books.
The books and what it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, so if you don't want to be spoiled for the movie, you don't want to be spoiled for, future movies or books, if you haven't read them or seen them yet.
Don't watch this just yet.
Yeah. Turn off your...
Switch to another video. Come back to us later.
Yeah, go watch the GOAT version of Taylor Swift's song.
Waste a bit of time, yeah.
So, okay. So the whole premise of The Maze Runner is that the Earth's population, a ton of the Earth's population, is wiped off by solar flares, and millions of people die. And then after that, a virus comes out and wipes off a ton more. And the reason that all these kids are in the maze is because they might be immune to the flare.
Possible immunity.
Yeah, the virus. And so the reason they're in the maze is like a test to see how their brain activity responds to stressful situations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just...
it makes no sense
I can't swear on camera yet, but...
Yeah, we could. I mean, there's no censorship on YouTube.
Well, no, but I feel weird. I don't want my mother to see me swearing on YouTube.
Does she check your YouTube then?
No, she doesn't. No, I haven't.
Ooh.
Probably stay that way if I'm going to start swearing on camera. But back to Maze Runner. Okay, so think about this logically. Like, the whole premise of this series is that that they might be immune to this virus. Thing is, if you look at the movie, this giant maze they're in, it's just this giant stone maze. It looks ancient, but at the same time, it's really advanced to the point where they move around in the different points of the maze. They move around depending on the day, and it's just you think about it. How much money, how much resources and manpower went into this constructing this giant ass maze? Really, this giant.
It didn't build itself over time. I mean, when you see the movie, you'll see when they come out to a bird's eye, you see this maze, it's got to be miles wide. And as Becky said here, it's moving. It moves in a synchronization, and there's this huge pyramid thing. Where did they find the time and the money, the resources to do this?
Yeah,
I mean, the whole time period, they could have been like, hey, look, we isolated the gene for this virus. Hey, look, here's the cure. Oh, just a little bit. Here's the cure. Here's what we need for it. Here's the mutation or something. Now look, these kids have it. Let's take some samples. Solve the movie. But no.
I know, and it's oh my gosh, how much time and money and manpower, all the money. That must have taken so much money. And it's not just the maze. There's this glade in it. And spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, when all the kids, you get out of the maze, they're taken off, they're shown, this desert. The glade is surrounded by this giant desert that's, over where a city used to be. And, again, it's a really cool visual. And it's part of what distracted me at the time from what a bad premise it was, because it happened. Because you got this amazing visual, this desert covered city.
The Sahara Desert just covers your town.
Yeah.
And there's this little green oasis where everything's perfect.
Yeah, so they must have made it. So if they can either make or preserve this synthetic little area of woods.
They've terraformed that piece of land.
So why aren't they instead of making this pointless maze for these kids, how about they take this science and use it to help the Earth?
Terraform the rest of the Earth,
Yes.
Solar flares they look like they're done. They don't look like they're continuously happening. Just fix the rest of the Earth, we'll be fine. No more government resource wasted, because they created the virus too. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
They created the virus after the solar flares massacred the world.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you?
And that's
Not
another
me?
thing. Okay, when we went and checked out what the rest of the books were going to be about, what was the point of the virus? We find out that this virus was there's solar flares everywhere, and a ton of people die, and it causes tsunamis everywhere, and millions of people just die in this alone. And then this virus comes out, and it's find out that Wicked, the government agency that's doing the maze stuff, they were the ones who created the virus, and they're doing this to try to find a cure for the virus they created. And it's like, what is the point of making a virus? Millions of people must have died in those fires alone, and then in the months afterwards, all those dead bodies, logically, they would contaminate bodies of water. There would be no food sources. Millions of people would have died from contamination and starvation,
yeah.
and regular viruses that would have perked up without anyone needing to make them. So what's the point? They said it was for population control.
They truly control the population, then.
How much of a population could there have been left after a gigantic world disaster that would require
just
a
too
virus?
many people for them to deal with, you know? And how the government exists. They're like, whoa, we just formed a one-world government. Now we're just going to kill everybody. Everybody else is dead. We're just going to start a whole new race of people.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So if all these kids are immune, why are you killing them off? How many freaking kids died in those being killed by the grievers, the spider
grievers,
thing?
The
robot. You have the
humanoids.
scientific capabilities to make a thing that is half organic, half machine.
Yes.
And it's
highly technical.
Tons of them. How much time and research and money and manpower made into making all those dang grievers?
That could have went to research.
That could have been to research. And
building new cities, new towns.
What's the point of all of this? It's so unnecessary. When it could, if they had that kind of scientific capability, why can't they come up with? Why can't they come up with a cure?
Yeah, within 6 months they could have had a cure, and everything would have been solved.
Yes,
At least you hope so.
The kids, all these kids, they're supposedly immune. So why are you killing off all your test subjects? Aren't they if you want to monitor their brain activity? Why don't you do actual tests instead of being oh, let's see how you do fighting up against a giant robot spider thing, or oh, let's see how you do getting into this maze. Oh my gosh! And the whole experiment.
Talking about brain activity,
Yes.
Why do they even need that? How is that even authentic when they have? You learn later that they have the blue brain chip in them.
Yeah, that's right.
They can brain. Basically, they're making control. We don't know the whole time or how much, but we know they can switch it on and off.
Yeah, and this is later in the books, not in the first one, but you find out and there's a point where Thomas has this brain chip in it, and they can get him to control, and they control him to the point where they can get him to attack someone else and kill them. And it's if this is an experiment, how can you control all of these and you can control all these people? Then it's not really an experiment because you're controlling the outcome of things that happen. They aren't rats in a maze even. Yeah. They're video game characters.
You don't have a true variable anymore.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the maze, So they're supposed to go through the maze and it's supposed to be impossible. They map it out anyways. You find out mid-through or something. So if they find their way through the maze, couldn't the person be oh, we're just turn on your brain chip, turn around, kill yourself. End of the movie.
End of the movie.
End of the movie.
And all those kids, here's the thing though. If they're all immune, then it says at one point they wanted the immune kids to repopulate the earth. Well, why don't you let them populate the earth? Why don't you, if you can make the synthetic environment and they were trying to rebuild, why don't you put them in these kids there with mixed boys and girls and let them do that?
You didn't do that. You always see the Glade group is a bunch of guys and they have that one girl later. You find out later if you read the books, there's another group of all girls with one guy. B. So they kept them separate in a whole nother maze.
Yes.
In a whole nother facility across the world. Again, where's all these money and resources come from? Out of thin air.
Yeah, if these kids are immune, you should be repopulating the earth, making more immune kids, and letting natural selection take its course. Let all the people from whatever die, and the immune kids. What happens every time that there's a virus or something that's certain people. Yes. Yeah. And it's just completely ridiculous that there's taking all this time. Oh, and the time it takes to do the damn experiment. Oh, I said.
Damn's not a bad word. You're fine.
There are people in my life who would disagree. Well, the whole thing is, it takes so long, too. Like, they say they've been there for 3 years. So, it takes, 10 years or however long to make the maze, and then 3 years for all these kids to come.
10 years is pretty generous for a place like that.
I know. And so all these you let this experiment go on for 3 years? And the thing is, though, what I really don't get is why all these kids are, so afraid to go out in the woods, or why they haven't, done something. Like, there's a scene where, Tom says eventually, I don't want to get out of here. Everyone who wants to get out, come with me. And there was 10 kids.
There's 10
7
kids.
or 8 or so.
Yeah.
10 kids or whatever. And they all go in together with the weapons and with spears or whatever. And they managed to, 7 of them, or 10 of them or whatever, they managed to fight off a griever really well.
Yeah, they over.
Yeah, they fought a freaking griever.
They fought a couple of them.
And
well,
they
3
were
of them or so.
And it's okay, so there are 30 boys here. How have these 30 boys not been let's all go in together and fight a griever?
Yeah. You said, Thomas was supposed to be the most curious, but I mean, really, for guys, if you're left in a survival situation, even if you're not put in that situation off the bat, like you're a city kid or something, really, you get together, you're like, hey, look, I've got weapons. They got things every month. They got weapons. We got tools. We've mapped out the maze. Let's go. We've got a small army, a militia here.
Yeah.
Let's just
30.
go to it.
Yeah, and how does it take 3 years for anyone to decide to do this? Not to play to gender stereotypes, but boys, they're, it's not just curious. They're just I'm gonna go and do this thing.
We're gonna get out of here.
Guy, what's his name? The first guy who was there.
I
can't remember.
No, we can't.
The first guy who was there. Albie, that's it. Albie.
Yeah, Albie.
When he when he was there for his first month, he was there for a month alone.
By
himself,
first off, with minimal supplies.
And no memory of where he'd come from. Okay, first off, he would have gone crazy. He would have gone within a month, being there by himself, only remembering his name, no idea.
There's no.
I don't know
nothing
if
was
they
built because he had to pick up all the resources himself.
Yeah, and I don't know if they gave him some minimal resources and a note or something that was that was I don't know.
This is how you build a hut. This is how you build a fire.
Or you're here for I don't know. But he would have gone nuts. And by the second month when the second guy came along, or the third guy, they'd have been let's get out of here.
Yeah, and the same person's gonna be hey, look, a maze door opens every time. Let's.
And there's no way logically he would not have gotten in the maze. He would not have been stuck in the maze at night at one point.
Yeah, and I think they we figured that out, but everybody else was no, he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if he goes, we were talking about he's going crazy, right?
Yeah.
There goes the brain chip thing. Maybe they just turned it on the first month. They're he's going to stay sane now.
I don't know. Or maybe, they didn't set the grievers on him when he came out at night. Made sure they kept from attacking him. I don't know. But it's and there's no weapons. Okay, there's the scene when the grievers, attack their little village, and, what's her name, Teresa, she throws, a thing of that whiskey on them, and it's a Molotov cocktail.
Makeshift Molotov cocktail.
You can make a Molotov cocktail. A flying bomb. And why? And you have machetes. And why haven't any of you made bows and arrows? That's the easiest thing to make.
The bows and arrows, that's what we're talking you've got spears, you've got a machete, you have whittling knives, they have pocket knives, so they got whittling. They could easily made bows and arrows, and they could even made gunpowder. I don't know if they would have got the resources, but it's not hard to make. You feel like they could make small explosives besides a Molotov cocktail.
Gunpowder has been around for several hundred years.
Since ancient Chinese, if not before that.
Yes, they were using cannons in the Middle Ages in battles. In these, wouldn't be very hard if you knew what you were doing. And the thing is, 5 kids with longbows and a Molotov cocktail.
Crossbows.
Yeah. You could have easily killed a griever and gotten out of there, and it wouldn't have been. So it's just completely ridiculous that it took 3 years.
That whole time
3 years. They built they have farms. They had
farms,
they
houses.
Built that pit. They built this whole place, and it's you're really telling me that these teenage boys would have been okay, and I can understand
we're gonna live a docile life.
yeah, been okay, we're gonna go make this and this and this, and I can understand them needing them for survival. But there's no, like, I really couldn't see a place like that. Like, the younger boys being, being in charge of the older boys being like, okay, we're getting, like, military. Like, we're gonna, learn how to use all these weapons, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. And, like, getting out of there way longer than, like, 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Something
like,
was controlling them.
Yeah. But, again, why? Like,
Why?
what's the point?
It's like, yeah, you just kind of made your whole experiment pointless. Because they probably knew they were, cured.
And they, like, sent Thomas up to end the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like...
And it's like, what? Why? Because they just knew that they... What? Because they were afraid they wouldn't get out there on their own anymore because it took them 3 freaking years?
Well, look how they're taking too long. We must send in too much of a curious kid to destroy them and their livelihood and burn their whole village and kill some more people.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened with the girls one. Boy is sent up. I mean, that must have caused chaos.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. The guys never reacted to the gal
Oh,
showing
yeah.
up in any realistic way.
That is,
they were like,
the
girls showed up and they're like, oh, look, a girl.
There is no way.
She knows you, Thomas. Let's put her over here.
Yeah. Okay, realistically,
they're very calm about it.
Realistically, these boys have been alone for like 3 years, no girls. A girl shows up, and maybe it's because they're, they have all their memories wiped. I don't know.
Still.
Societal stuff is not accepting them, but girl would have been in, like, way more danger. Like, coming into a group of, like, 30 guys. Like, she would have been in way more danger. Like, they played out, like, way more cool than it would have actually been in real life.
Our feelings have all been gone.
Yeah, and maybe that's true. I don't know.
And it's the same with the glade that has all the girls. When the guy shows up, it's like, they're going to be a bunch of, we would hope so at least, a bunch of Amazonian women type thing. And they're like, oh, look, a guy, and tie him up. Watch, it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's just like the most ridiculous premise, but it was really well made.
It was good.
Yeah, like
if you don't think about it,
they made great casting choices. Everyone, Dylan O'Brien from Teen Wolf, the guy who played Gally. Some of you might recognize. He played Eustace on in the Voyage of the John Treader, the third Narnia movie.
Books, yeah.
There's some. And side note, there's no way that someone who'd been like in the wilderness for 3 years would have such perfect
perfect eyebrows.
Triangular eyebrows. No way.
Everybody was clean shaven too, which was okay.
Yeah. And the guy who played Newt, I think, Newt.
Yeah.
He was in Game of Thrones. So if you were wondering where you recognized him from,
as we did, yeah.
So it was really well acted. Got great performances from everyone. I saw a lot of trauma face from Styles from Teen Wolf's 3D season. But still, it was really good. I feel like I was afraid he'd play exactly like Styles, and he kind of did. But wasn't too noticeable
to the situation.
Yeah, it wasn't too noticeable because Thomas is not as snarky as Styles, so none of that came out.
Yeah.
But he did a really good job, and everyone did. And so, and it was really well made, really well shot. No poor direction or anything. And again, we have these great visuals.
Which I think made the movie for the most part.
It really did.
Is the visuals of you seeing the maze moving along.
Yeah, and
the grievers, even if you don't like them.
Yeah, and there, and and that distracted you. Like that scene, at the end, you
the
just get
bird's eye view coming off.
Yeah, you get this exposition dump from a video from one of the woman who works at Wicked, talking about the solar flares and the virus and everything, and she. And it doesn't really you don't really get a chance to think about it because after that movie comes in, Gally comes in and shoots that one kid, and then they all get dragged off into those helicopters, and you see the desert city, and it's a really just amazing visual, and it really distracts you until you get outside, and then you get a second to really think about it, and it's
wait a minute, and you come to the conclusions we just came to. It's it's a great movie. But don't think about it too hard, or you're just going to ruin it for yourself.
Yeah, so, yeah. Okay, let's see. We talked about the Grievers. We talked about the boys and everything. One thing I was disappointed in? Okay, so that kid that got hit, that got killed by the Griever. And
which one?
The one who got stung and tried to, kill Thomas.
Oh.
When they brought him out, when they took, forced him into the maze, it drove me nuts because, it's with the plot thing, it's why are they killing off why are they killing off their test subjects? B, and like, why are they, and all these kids, like, they supposedly look out for each other, but when Albie got stung, they kept him there and just tied him down.
And they tried to and
they
did you?
Yeah.
The charger. But they save him, and for some reason, Wicked, the people who put him in there, says, "Hey, here's 2 vials to save your friend and other people."
I think those were meant for Teresa and Thomas.
But they used it
So
on
they could-
Albie.
Because it would help them, like, with their memories. And the thing is, Albie never talks about this once. He was the leader, and he was the one who ordained that, like, what's Peter, I think his name was, should be pushed out in the well. And he's like, and as they're pushing out into the maze, he's, like, begging them, like, honestly, he's like, don't do this, don't send me out. And they do it anyways. And there's no point. I have expected Albie, like, when he's, like, at one point to be like, I'm no better than Peter. Take me out to the maze,
Yeah, just let me
like,
go.
and after he's cured, there's no even remorse. Like, this could have been Peter. And he's, like, the leader who supposedly cares about everyone.
Yeah.
And he's, like, never like, oh, this should have been Peter, or I could have been Peter. I feel awful about what happened to him. I wish he should have stayed here. But, like, they never mention it.
Another boy, we killed him off because he was poisoned.
Yeah.
That was the thinking.
Yeah.
He was
and
too weak.
so kind of weakened the whole we're all brothers, blah, blah, blah stuff. And Albie's character as well. So, I wasn't too happy about that. Yeah.
Did we cover all the bases?
Yeah, I think we did. The plot's stupid.
The plot's stupid.
The acting was good.
The acting's good. Visuals are good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
Yeah. So,
I wouldn't recommend seeing it in theaters. I don't think it's in theaters anymore. It might be.
It probably still is. It only just came out.
But watch it
2 weeks
online
ago.
or
I
rent
don't know. I think if you're looking for, like, a popcorn flick, there's just lots of action. The movie is really nonstop action.
It's moving. There's no slowdown. That's...
Yeah, which is good, which is why it added to, like, I really enjoyed the movie at the time.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a popcorn flick without action, just something to do, go ahead and watch it. If you're really hyper analytical like us,
just a little bit. No, you don't have to be hyper. Just
had like an hour-long conversation after we saw this
2
movie.
hours.
Yeah.
Ranting.
Yeah, and so if you're really like that, maybe don't or go into it, not expecting much.
As much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So make your know what you're getting into, but make your choice wisely. You won't
Truly.
you won't walk away feeling like you wasted your money. Like
Yeah.
I still don't, because I enjoyed watching the movie.
Yeah.
So now you know.
Yep.
So The Maze Runner, a very good movie, as long as you don't think about it.
Don't
too
think
much.
about it. You'll be fine.
Yep. Bye.
See you.
See ya. Till next time.